Yum yum cookie, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Monkey.
And that's right. Welcome to part 4 of our great Disneyland ranking podcast. We are ranking more or less all of the attractions at the Disneyland Resort. I forget if we have any exceptions to that.
You mean besides web slingers and shows and a couple overlays?
Web slingers is the one big thing that was the exception. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Besides web slingers,
yeah,
asterisks
works
on
out.
the
So I
web.
did want to. I'll mention that later.
All right. Okay, so yeah, Monkey. Obviously, this is kind of the point where we get into the big guns. I'd say at this point, it's fair to say that everything we're talking about here moving forward is going to be, at the very least, a very, very good or very nostalgic.
Yeah, it's probably fair to say.
All right. Well, let's start things off. I believe you went first last time, right?
Yeah. If I may just say it now, then.
Sure.
With web slingers, since we're not including it on this list, I'd say I figure it would probably be, kind of somewhere around the spot, like approximately
around the 30 spot. Yeah.
Like I could see it going anywhere from 27 to 35.
Okay.
I also probably like it a bit more than most people, so.
Yeah, because you seem to kind of be like, I remember you were surprised when I said and honestly, Monkey, I'm kind of getting to the point where like I'm, as we get closer to my trip, I'm thinking like, do I even need a DCA day? So honestly, I floated that question with my grandma yesterday. She still wants to do a DCA day, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. It's like, she's like, oh, but I really like Tower of Terror and Cars. And I'm like, yeah, but that's 2 attractions. Which
isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Right. We got Tegan.
I like it for what it is.
Fair enough. We got Tegan in the chat. Happy to have you, Tegan. All right, let's get started. Number 30. The Incredicoaster for me. And this is one of those situations where if it was originally California Screamin', it might be in the top 20, at least top 25. So the Incredicoaster is like a weird. I remember. I feel like I've kind of soured on this. Like this Incredicoaster for me has kind of had like the anti-Midway Mania arc, right? Where I actually was kind of stoked on this when it first opened. Like I remember in our group chat, I was definitely optimistic. Like, oh my god, they actually put stuff in the tunnel.
I remember getting a little vlog of your first time on it, and you were very positive.
I was positive on it. And it's not that I'm not positive on it now. It's just that I miss California Screamin'. It's the music. It mostly comes down to the music. I said it last time. I'll say it again. This is the one time in Disney history where replacing a score with Michael Giacchino music was not an improvement.
If it's Giacchino, I know it would be in the wrong spot, but what if we gave this a Werewolf by Night overlay?
Ooh.
That probably, I don't know if that would actually work out.
I don't know how you would thematically do that, but...
yeah. It's almost as if it's a joke.
So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the 2 big things with this is that, like I said, it's just a big downgrade from California Screamin' as far as music goes. The Incredicoaster music, the Michael Giacchino Incredibles music is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But we've heard it before. We know the style. California Screamin', that music was distinctly its own. It was a very distinct original theme park composition. And I really feel like the ride loses something when it doesn't have that. And then also, I do kind of feel the cheapness when I think about it more. Like, I think some of the scenes work well. Generally speaking, I think the tunnels do work pretty well as far as, just adding a little something extra. But what doesn't work, obviously, the Jack Jacks on a stick. That just doesn't. It has never worked. It's embarrassing. They should just take that scene out and replace it with nothing. Honestly, I don't necessarily care for the giant baby vignette at the end, just because I think it looks cheap. It looks like kind of like a Disney store display or a Main Street window or something, which isn't bad. It's just kind of cheap to have as like the last thing you see. And also I just feel like the style of The Incredibles clashes with the rest of the style of Pixar Pier. So as a coaster, it's wonderful. It's not a great coaster for coaster enthusiasts. I'll say that much. It's got that section of airtime hills that does not have any airtime. The loop is pretty forceful. I think the loop is still up there with one of the most forceful loops that I've done. But it's still, I feel like it's a very, very rock solid kind of stepping stone coaster into vertical loops. I don't know about you. For me, it was certainly my first vertical loop. Was it yours
my first inversion as well?
So yeah, a lot of fond memories of it. I do think some of the Incredibles stuff is executed well, but other parts of the Incredibles stuff are executed very awkwardly, and it kind of meshes with the vibe of the land as a whole. So again, it's territory where I'm going to be curious to see how I feel about it once I've done it again. Mm-hmm. Probably another reason to do California Adventure, have that California Adventure Day. Anyways, yeah. All right. Let's see.
Tegan smell says, the cookies.
Yeah. That cookie smell is genuinely one of the best parts of the ride. Tegan says California Screamin' just did not need an overlay. Yeah, hard agree. You know what else didn't need an overlay? Mickey's fucking Fun Wheel.
Well, Mickey's fucking Fun Wheel is at the after hours event. The after hours event.
Oh God. All right, what's your number 30?
Sorry, just one little more addendum to that joke. Uh-huh. So, you mean it's a ride where there is a dedicated queue for swingers?
Oh dear. All right.
Okay. My 30 is speaking of stuff that gets you wet. Oh God.
Wow.
Grizzly River Run.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot higher than I have. Well, it's not too. I had mine number 41. So okay, fair enough.
Yeah. The main issue for this with me is it's too wet for my liking. Mm-hmm. I like my jeans or my socks. That's not a pleasant feeling.
Monkey, Popeye, and Bluto's Bill Draft barges is like looking at you and just shaking its head judgmentally at you right now. Like you can't handle Grizzly.
Popeyes I had more time to prepare for, as opposed to just casually being in the park.
That's very.
The water effects weren't working.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Popeye straight up feels like a water park ride, not a water ride, a water park ride. Anyway,
on the recent-ish occasions over the last 8 years or so or something, whatever few times I've gotten on it has been a lot of fun for me. Like the rapids are a lot of fun to do, some good thrilling, and I think the area looks a lot nicer than you do. So it does more for me. It does it for me more. Figuring out for
I think the area itself is fantastic. I just don't really think there's a lot to look at on the course besides the rock work.
Yeah. And I know another thing where I differ from you is, I do rate this above Cali.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, Cali is just so short.
You know what? I've only done Cali the one time. There was probably some residual, it was the first time I was in Florida, and I was probably experiencing everything is better in Florida kind of vibe on that trip. So I honestly think I'd probably lean more towards your side if I were to do Cali again. Cali very much feels like kind of an afterthought in Animal Kingdom in general, honestly.
I remember even thinking when I was young doing it the first time that it was shorter.
Mm-hmm. I will not.
And Grizzly has that.
Sorry, I was just going to say I will not. Yeah, I will not sign off on Calico not being as good as this. Calico is superior to this,
Mm-hmm.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
and of course, Grizzly also, it has that cave with the eyes in the dark that scared me off it for years.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
would be nice
Fun
in that
Rapids.
cave, an actual animatronic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyways. Okay, number 29 for me. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I kind of had a hard time placing this. Remind me, you've already ranked
Yeah, it's a
this, right?
difficult one to rank.
Yeah,
What?
like, have you already ranked it?
Not yet.
No, okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, this is a hard one to rank. It really is. But I do really appreciate it. And honestly, weirdly enough, this shouldn't be the case, but it's one of those things where it's a very, very child-centered ride. But as I've got older, I've appreciated it more. Because I guess like when it first came, I was like, is it even possible to be a jaded teenager for the Country Bears? Because that's kind of what I was. I was like, fuck this Winnie the Pooh ride. I want my liver lips McGraw.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it is a really, really solid attraction, though. It's nice to have a dark ride on the other side of the park, not in Fantasyland. I think it fits a lot better into Critter Country than it does Disney World. I mean, just unequivocally fits a lot better. And of course, it has the enhanced, like, do you remember, were you there when Garrett blew my mind with the fact that it literally uses the same ride vehicles as Indy?
I may
Or
or
the
may
same
not have been.
technology, at least.
Yeah, I don't remember if I was there. But
Yeah, that is crazy to me, that those ride vehicles are literally enhanced motion vehicles. I mean, I guess it makes sense, they always have moved, but just the fact that they put that extra effort in.
Oh, bother.
So yeah, a little bit of a short ride. The ending is a little abrupt, but it's just a damn charming ride, and it's one of those things where it's gone. Like, my transition from this ride has always been like, when I was a teenager, I would just like not pay attention to it, but now it's like I genuinely kind of feel guilty if I'm riding Splash and I pass by it and I don't give it a ride, especially if it's a short queue. I mean, of course, if the queue's filled up, I'll probably pass by it. It's one of those situations.
Yeah, it's kind of lame lately. I was like, oh man, Winnie the Pooh gets weights now.
Right. I still think there's a lot of times where you can probably catch it on at a good time. But yeah, it's not like the constant.
I had a kind of horrifying thought a moment ago.
What?
That ride is gonna turn 20 this year.
Ooh, God. Yeah, let's not think about that. All right. Tegan says, Pooh is a solid dark ride, probably not talked about very often, but it's very well done. I always enjoy it. Indeed.
So Tegan, what you're saying is that we don't talk about Pooh. No.
Like, I do think that the enhanced motion vehicles, if anything else, make this a cool little upgrade to the standard Fantasyland dark ride that never gets enough credit. Okay, 29 for you.
Okay, my 29, Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage.
Okay, not too far off from me.
Yeah, so, it's certainly great to have the kinetic energy of subs in the lagoon again. It's got a nice length to it, so it makes for a nice adventure. And I mean, of course, the system does have an issue or two, like say how, well, besides just where being enclosed with 40 people fits in the modern era, but also like say how what sort of bits of sound or visuals in the scenes you're going to get depending on where you're sitting, like closer to the front or to the back.
Have you done it?
I don't know if they ever.
Have you done it since it reopened?
No.
Yeah, I'm curious. That, like, usually it's a skip for me, but since they have been working on it, I'm definitely going to give it a go.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been there since they added Hank on the Rock, but I still have not seen Hank on the Rock.
Oh, really? That's funny. It's because the damn
Yeah.
thing doesn't move. They couldn't bother to give it any movement, so it doesn't
I
stick
just
out.
wasn't in I just wasn't in that area of the park.
Hmm. I mean, don't get me started
Also, I
on that.
checked.
That still pisses me off.
I mean, this is something and also like just something I checked on after reopened, thanks to POVs. But I think they still don't have those first jellyfish back, so you're just
Yeah,
kind of
I've
looking
heard
at
that too.
emptiness, and
Yeah,
then it's just, and then you don't see anything until like Dory's jumping on one. It's a,
right.
it's a. I wish they'd bring them back. It's a mood. It's a tone setter. You're revealing the scene.
All right. Is that it
But
on
yeah,
your end?
so yeah, it's essentially so yeah, it's like yeah, it's definitely got its issues, but and it's also a nice adventure, a nice to do.
Sure. Okay, let's see. I believe this is the cream of the crop as far as my flat rides go. I'm checking, doing another glance really quick. No other flat rides. All right. It's the cream of the crop of flat rides, the best flat ride in the resort, and probably the most iconic one. Number 28. It's the Mad Tea Party, baby. Gotta give it up. Gotta show some love to the classic. This is, again, one of those things where, first of all, I feel like it never has a wait anymore. Like, even on busy days, it barely has a wait, which is great. Obviously, I've got a lot of connection to this thing because of the rides I got on it when Paint the Night was around. I miss Paint the Night dearly. It's the most nostalgia I have ever had for a parade. Please bring it back, Disney. It's the one time I have ever asked Disney to bring back a parade. Monkey, you know me. Generally speaking, I am not a parade guy. But Paint the Night plus the Mad Tea Party, oh my God, just a beautiful combination. Just Disneyland, pure fucking Disneyland magic right there.
It
I love it.
was. It was a good combination.
But I mean, just the attraction itself just fits so well. Like, I think it's freaking crazy the dichotomy between Walt Disney World, where it's like, oh, there's the Tomorrowland Speedway, and there's the Mad Tea Party. Bam, right there. Hits you right in the face like a Six Flags transition. I hate it. And then this, where it's like a perfect little centerpiece of that side of Fantasyland. It's right next to the Matterhorn. You got the dark ride right there, of course. It's a perfect complement to the dark ride. This thing is a night ride for me. Absolutely. Like, it's almost a must do at night, at least once. I love the lighting package on the lanterns. And honestly, as far as the spinning goes, I think people kind of give it like way too much. Like, I'll say this, I have been on way, way, way more intense spinner rides than this. I mean, it's like the spinning on this, for my money, is pretty tame, even when you're trying to get it going. So yeah, I just think this is a perfect freaking little complimentary attraction that's like obviously super iconic and historic at the same time. And it's just lovely, and it fits in so well with the park and the surrounding area and the music, and it's just sheer classic Disneyland, just utterly classic Disneyland, and I love it.
And true to theming, it's mustard deficient.
Mustard. Mad Tea Party is the only flat ride that's a must do on my trip every visit. Yeah, hard agree, Tegan. Hard agree. All right, you're number 28.
My 28, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Ah, okay.
Just one off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, admittedly, it's not the most solid structure. Like, the scenes are kind of just a bit random, a bit, at the same, and the vehicle motion, there is a little bit of an odd approach to how they did the motion with it, like just having it be sort of rocking around the whole time, as opposed to Florida, where they do it for specific ways in specific moments. But still, it's still a nice little dark little ride. It's a Winnie the Pooh ride. It's the Winnie the Pooh IP. It's got that, nice little charm to it. It's usually been like a lot of times it's been a convenient option. Like if I
Mhm.
happen to be in that area of the park, like say around Harbor Galley or whatever, and like I'll go do Winnie the Pooh, like because of those, the location and the lack of line that there would be. And of course, the queue has Eeyore's house. Thank
Yep.
you. Yes,
Yep.
please. I know Florida's added it, but we had it from the beginning. No, you did it when you made the queue, as I call it, Winnie the Queue and the blistering migraine.
I don't think I've ever, I think I've made this point before, but I don't think I've ever actually waited in that queue. Well, no, I must have when I did the every attraction and challenge with Ezra the last time I was there, but
But yeah, this is a kind of difficult one to rank, but it's Winnie the Pooh. It's a nice little time.
I feel like you and I have a lot of good memories on it together too. Probably,
and of course, it's
probably.
fun.
I was going to say probably partially because of the too smart for strangers thing.
Yeah, and of course, it's that final scene, as odd as it is a fun one to experience on your birthday.
And then of course, like as much as I like the Mr. Toad portrait in the Disney World version, nothing will beat the creepy country bear heads. Just uncanny back there. You have to turn your head to see them. And it's creepy, but it's awesome at the same time. All right. Okay. Number 27 for me. Peter Pan's Flight. This is like I actually really, really prefer the Florida version. As janky as that version is, the fire.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Of it all.
Florida's a bit of a better scene layout or order.
I think the only scene I prefer in this version is probably the island, just because I feel like they do the fiber optic stars a lot better.
Oh, the fiber optic stars are amazing. I don't know if Florida even does those.
But obviously the wait time here is a big factor. It's low capacity, high demand. It's always going to be hard to get on. Always. That it just sucks, and it closes for the fireworks. It's just it's probably outside of like Rise of the Resistance, probably going to be the biggest pain in the ass of your day if you are trying to get on it. And it's not worth
can't spell pain without pan.
It's not worth rope dropping either, because I feel like unless you are like at the very, very front of the rope, the capacity on it is such shit that you're going to waste valuable rope drop time on it.
And then even if you're at the front of the rope nowadays, it's an early entry ride.
Exactly. Yeah, right. So, yeah, it's just very, it's like the opposite of Pooh as far as like the convenience factor goes. But it's still very nice. I do genuinely think that the projection-based like London scene is a downgrade. I really do. I just think
the London scene was better before. The other projections.
I just think there's not as much detail. It literally like I just feel like they took a lot of the charm out. So that's a shame. Honestly, for me, the big draw of the ride is just that one room with the fiber optic stars. But God damn it, I have enough nostalgia for that room that I will wait in that line at least once on my trip. But yeah, it's another tough one to rank, because it's like, if the crowd control situation were better for it, I think it would be very top tier Fantasyland. But as it stands now, it's hard for me to rank it anywhere higher. I'm pretty sure it's the lowest ranked Fantasyland dark ride for me. Except
put Enchanted Wish below it.
Right, but that I feel like that's a technicality, and that's likely going to change, because I'm actually pretty hyped for Enchanted Wish, and once I do see it in person, once I do see it in person, and not to mention the fact that it pretty much never gets above a 20-minute wait. Thank you. Good crowd control there. So yeah. Okay, what's your next one?
My 27, I gave to Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. Much higher.
You have to close the Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, so it's got its cheapnesses, like the flatness of so much of the design, and yeah, I think
is this our biggest separation? Because I have this at my number 51.
Possibly. I mean, we'll see. But yeah, so and yeah, there is some stuff show-wise that I like better in Florida. But obviously this one has the much less painful gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nice shooter ride, which there is maybe a bit of a curve with the shooting system. Things.
Yeah, I'm still not great at it, and I've been going on it since I was like 14. So
yeah, at least it's got you can use the fin as a guide, as an aim.
Yeah, I need to figure out, like, I need to take advantage of that more than I do.
Yeah. So yeah, and I also kind of wish I could appreciate the scenery a bit more with because of all the gameplay taking the focus.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, but yeah, I still like it. It's a nice shooter ride. It's nice to have the targets, light when you hit them. I appreciate that. Florida. If I may go into a nitpick, like just this one nitpick of mine about particular ones. So you have the stations right next to each other. You can clearly see into the unload from the load and vice versa. But both those rooms are supposed to be on completely different places. Like, you load at Star Command and then the unload is on the green planet. What is this portal we're looking through? Like, between worlds? Like, yeah, we're in a completely different place. That's also the same place. Florida, you begin and end at the same place, but those are separated stations. I get you need whatever space you have, but I don't know, maybe make it a little less of an opening for the cruisers to go through. That's a nitpick.
Fair enough. Tegan, yes, Buzz Lightyear did replace the Rocket Rod's queue, but Monkey, do you remember what other attraction it replaced? This is a deep cut.
Circle Vision?
Circle Vision, yes. But I'm talking like this attraction was there like in the very early 2000s pre-Buzz.
Oh, the NASA thing.
The NASA space experience. Yes, you do remember it.
Oh, yeah, of course I remember it. Maybe not as much detail as I could, but I certainly remember it being there and a couple aspects of it.
Yeah, that was like, it was like a throwback to like 50s Tomorrowland almost.
Yeah, you could stick your head in a rotating dome of stars.
Oh my God, memories. Planets. And the more the years go by, the more I genuinely miss the original Innoventions. Honestly.
Yes. I want it back.
I used to shit on it when I was a kid, but honestly, man, I had no idea what I was talking about. Anyways,
that's something I would love to see online that doesn't seem to be online. That General Motors virtual ride thing they had in Innoventions.
Innoventions was just a unique, it was a unique format for an attraction, because obviously you had the Tomorrow thing at the start. I don't know, it was a very I don't remember a lot of the stuff in there besides the VR stuff being particularly memorable, but it was a cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, it's also probably I was probably also there a lot more than you were, so
oh yeah, probably. And when I was there, I was also there was always that kind of feeling of well, this stuff is all right, but I've got Disneyland right there. You know what I mean? So, anyways.
But Tiki, in old inventions, you could do an ultrasound of a statue.
Oh my god. And you could also just straight up play like GameCube games, if I remember, or something
Pretty
like
much.
that.
Like various video games, yeah.
All right. Okay, so number
26?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you already did. Yeah, you did 27, I think.
I did. Okay, number 26 for me. It's going to go by quick because you already brought it up. It's going to be the Finding Nemo submarine voyage. Another kind of hard one to rank just because, again, I feel like I love the kinetic energy of the lagoon. I love the lagoon at night. I love it as a centerpiece. I love it as like a transitioning point from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland. It's honestly one of the absolute best transitioning points in any theme park, even to this day.
Yeah, whatever they end up doing with the space, I hope they keep the lagoon somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even if they don't do anything with the actual show building, like, well, I mean, like, if they do something with the show building, I assume that they'll level the Autopia too. That's what I'm hoping. But so the actual ride is just okay. You know, like, this is ranked up as high as it is almost exclusively because of the novelty of the ride system. I mean, I was one of the, like, I just missed the window on riding the original subs. So yeah, so having them come back was like super duper exciting. And I remember waiting in like a 2-hour line and just being absolutely stoked every minute of it, not even thinking about, you know, how long it was taking. Yeah, but it's not necessarily an attraction that holds up to re-rides very well, unfortunately. Unlike something like Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's like Pirates of the Caribbean also feels like an adventure, and this does feel like an adventure. I'll give you that. It absolutely does. But I feel like because of the cramped nature of it, that runtime almost works against it. Whereas, you know, with Pirates, all those scenes are like so open and, you know, big. There's no claustrophobia on Pirates. You want to stay down there as long as you can. Whereas, like, here, by the end of it, you're kind of like, okay, I'm done being in the sub. Please let me out. So, like I said, it's one of those things where I am going to try and do it probably, you know, just once during my trip. But I'm not necessarily looking forward to it. I'm mostly just curious to see if they did anything with the projections or anything like that during the refurb. It was down a long time, so they did have a lot of time to work on it. So yeah, like I said, it's mostly this high up just for the historical context and then the placemaking.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I said with Peter Pan last time, where it's like you don't do it as much. So it's like there's a little specialness on the occasion you do it, at least for me.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I remember one time when I was with Evan, the line just, it randomly happened to be a walk-on, which like never happens. And we were like, fuck it.
Was this a night?
Fun. Yes. Were you there?
Was. Probably not.
I don't think you were, no. All right. Okay. I believe that was also the time where Garrett was maybe in Florida, I want to say.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird timing. Okay, number 25.
Or my 26.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're still on 26. Go ahead.
My 26, it's one that has been mentioned in this ranking series before. Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon. Smuggler's Run.
And make Chewie proud.
Yeah.
I honestly think the whole "you made Chewie proud" thing is even funnier to me than the
Chewbacca, my fine birdie friend.
Anyways,
but yeah, so
it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it is a genuinely like nice note to go out on. You know, it's kind of like how some people are like, yeah, I made Optimus Prime proud. I don't feel that way on the Transformers ride, but you know, for me, the whole "you made Chewie proud," I'm like, hell yeah, I did, man. I did good by Chewie. All right.
But yeah,
All right.
so
Anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wonder which I should go in first, like the positives or the one major con.
Yeah, get the one major con out of the
Yeah,
way.
one major con is why the hell aren't there more missions?
Yeah. Also, I feel
Yeah,
like this attraction is very, very not single rider friendly.
It depends on how you feel about the positions. Like, I generally
It's
like
less
the
about the
engineer
positions for
position.
me. I really don't mind being an engineer.
Oh,
It's more about the
being
social
with other
anxiety.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, people.
Which is why I am not thrilled about the current situation with space single rider.
Yeah.
And I will also say that that was pretty much like the factor that led me to be like, Grandma, we should really do Lightning Lane.
But yeah, so this thing really needs more missions, as cool as it is. It's the same. This is one where you don't want it to be the same every time. You need that variety.
Yeah, we talked about this before with Star Tours, but I feel like with Star Tours, it would be okay if it was the same thing every time. It was the same thing every time for decades, and it was awesome.
Yeah. And it's like this has less of an excuse to only have one movie. I get the technology is like, new stuff, but hopefully not so much that they couldn't have done another mission ready for opening.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe that's
what I feel like instead of fucking like leaning on Hyperspace Mountain yet again, wouldn't you think another Smuggler's Run mission would have been a way cooler way to celebrate May the 4th?
That absolutely would have been.
I'm just saying. I am just freaking saying.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so as for the positives of this, you got the really good queue, which I'm guessing Lightning Lane Fast Pass have reduced this option a bit, but it's
if you consider the Ray Room to be the end of the the end of the Rise of the Resistance queue, then this absolutely has a better queue than Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have seating, but still. So
no, the seating is good on Ride. I will talk about that when I talk about Ride. That is one of my pluses.
But yeah, so it's back to Smugglers. Is that, I mean, I'm guessing like Express Lane has reduced this, but it moved at a really good pace. It's a very efficient ride system. Like making up for. Oh yeah, like it's so efficient. I really like how they set it up so that you get a little time to just hang out in the Falcon before going to the cabin. Let's see, and the Falcon itself, it's a great recreation of it. Like even if, however, the movie itself turned out, it's still cool to be in the Millennium Falcon. Like they did well on that effort. Another also just little minor con, like some positions like Gunner, it may be bit distracting, like is this happening on the screen now? Okay, back to is that happening on the screen? But otherwise, yeah, it's still I mean, hopefully they'll get some more missions in there, but otherwise, yeah, it's an impressive physical work.
Yeah, totally. All right. It's a kind of ride system where I feel like you've seen the footage of the ride system, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I feel like the ride system is like even cooler than it feels like when you're actually on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like except for the beginning and the end when you're supposed to feel it, you don't feel the rotations.
Right, exactly, yeah. All right. Tegan says, I'm still solidly on the Galaxy's Edge doesn't belong in Disneyland wagon. Tegan, I'm like kind of halfway there with you. I do like my argument for Star Wars belonging in Disneyland has always been that Star Wars is kind of like this iconic kind of subsection of fantasy and sci-fi, which I kind of feel like fits the, here you leave today and into the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. That being said, I very much wish there was, it's just fucking uncanny how the two Galaxy's Edges are literally exactly the same. It's straight up creepy in some ways, honestly. I don't like it.
Yeah. So creepypasta about the B. Arthur character when?
Oh my god. No, seriously, dude, you could write a full-on creepypasta just about how uncanny it feels to be
Replace
in both
Mr.
of those
One
ways.
Way with the B. Arthur character.
Oh my god. All right. So yeah, Tegan, I don't know. I feel like I'd be more in favor of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland if it wasn't such a straight up carbon copy of the Disney World version. Although I might feel differently about that now that I have been to Florida, because like obviously Disneyland has the extra entrance and what as well. Yeah. So,
and also Disneyland, it's like, oh, it's in Disneyland, so there's a whole bunch of other great stuff in this park to do. Not that Hollywood Studios doesn't have great stuff to do, but like, oh, a more full package of treats.
No, for sure, for sure. All right, number 25.
Number 25.
Chose. Hold on. This is it's back to me.
Yes. Okay. Back to you. Now back to me. Now back to you. So now back to you.
It's the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough. And honestly, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here because in my mind, I'm obviously including the walkthrough, but I'm also kind of including like the castle just as an icon. And if you want to get really technical about it, kind of technically, maybe sort of thinking that Snow White's grotto kind of fits into this equation as well, kind of.
Yeah, I know that's a bit of a cheat. You out of including that on the list. So
I know that's a bit of a cheat, but just generally speaking, I love. Like, I think that Cinderella's castle is a lot more visually impressive for sure, but I love Sleeping Beauty's castle a lot more. I love the fact that you can like walk all the way around it and go into it through all the different points. Snow White's grotto, of course, like just to talk on Snow White's grotto just for a minute, if you'll indulge me. It's straight up probably my favorite spot in all of Disneyland. I love it so much. It's just like the pure definition of a quiet, out of the way area that doesn't need to be there but is there, and because it's there makes the park better. But
it has the circle of fish that comes up sometimes.
Dude, the circle, I fucking love that circle of fish. Oh my god. But talking about the walkthrough itself, it is fantastic, and I genuinely think it's up there with some of the better like walkthrough attractions I've done. But for me, obviously, the fact that you are walking through the actual castle physically, like the brickwork of the castle remains intact, like design-wise throughout the whole thing. That's really cool. So I honestly just think that 25 for me is a very appropriate placement because it's kind of right in the center. Mm-hmm. And obviously, it's also one of those things like for years and years and years, I would be like not sure where the entrance is, or like not even sure if they had closed it or not, and then they finally opened it up again. So like it was one of those things where like every time I go to Disneyland, I'd like try and find the entrance, and I think just for a long time, like through most of the 2000s, it was just straight up closed.
Yeah,
so
did it even make it to O2?
No, because it was closed by that point. That was my first trip.
Yeah.
So so it's one of those things where it's like it eluded me for so long, and then finally being able to do it and it living up to the expectations. I mean, I do love it. I really do.
Yeah, that was like an era when they were like bringing things back. Like you got the subs, and then the walkthrough, and Lincoln, and Captain EO.
Also, kind of the flying saucers too, a little bit.
Yeah, that's an asterisk.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, Lincoln, man. I like that Steve Martin film, but that stayed in the Opera House for way too long.
Some say it's
Anyways,
still there.
it's not like I'm going to have Lincoln ranked incredibly high on this list or anything.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, as far as walkthroughs go, maybe someday we'll be able to compare it to that Aladdin one in Paris.
Right. Although I have no doubt that the Alice's Labyrinth is the crown jewel of Disney walkthroughs. I have no doubt about that. Okay. So you're number 25.
My 25, are y'all ready? I'm giving my 25 to It's a Small World.
God. Oh, that stings more than anything else so far, Monkey. Ooh, that
It's
hurt.
a Sting world after all, huh?
Oh, it's not even in your top 20. Fuck, man. All right.
This is going to be fun. And, this, and I'm afraid this is one of those cases where it's like, yeah, it's a nice classic attraction. It's more difficult to find specific ways to articulate that than the nitpicks.
That's fair.
Yeah, because
you got the one nitpick I have is just how it can sometimes be a pain in the ass to exit.
Do you mean like how long it takes? Or?
Yeah, like the stacking.
Yeah. So that and the whole it's a flume in an office building or something that goes for me personally, and this isn't the only time it'll pop up on this ranking in this series, but for me personally, it's subject to the issue of I'm stuck in a slow-moving boat with a dozen other people for 15 minutes.
Yeah, but the boats don't trigger my social anxiety. They really don't. I don't know. That's weird.
Mazel tov. Yeah, I probably would rank the holiday version a bit higher if we were doing that. I don't know how much higher, but yeah, it's still, a nice classic attraction, the nice scenery. I like the song, especially in the exterior area, the Small World Mall. I really like that instrument, love it. That's
one of the great exteriors in all of theme parks. And I just bring that up because of the Rolly Crump of it all.
Right, yeah. I just, if I had one note for it now, it would be I don't know, how about making the farmer dolls move something besides their mouths?
Honestly, if I had a note for it, I genuinely think they should start putting projection effects in there.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't already. I think that would really liven it up.
Yeah.
Not overdo it, of course, but I definitely think there's room for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, please.
Tegan, don't you worry. I'm just going to say it right now. It's straight up going to be in my top 10, unapologetically. So, all right. Okay, well, geez, that rocked me a little bit. Only number 25? Okay, well, maybe this will...
I rocked the boat, huh?
This is my revenge, Monkey. This is my revenge. Number 24 is Haunted Mansion Holiday.
So, yeah, I had a feeling that's what you were going to say with revenge. Higher than I expected, honestly.
And honestly, this is one of those things where it's I feel like it's a little bit weird to even include it, but I feel like it is its own thing. And as we kind of I feel like our discussion about including it or not is kind of it does feel like a big deal, and it's a Disneyland tradition and people go nuts for it. So I'm just not that big of a fan of it. I'm really not. That being said, obviously it's very high on the list because it is still Haunted Mansion, you can't, there's just certain things about the Haunted Mansion. You still got the Leota, you still got the ballroom, you still got the graveyard. The graveyard is definitely one of the things I will say in Holiday that is done better. I don't know, man. Honestly, for me with Holiday, a big part of it is just that attic scene just feels really stale at this point. I really wish they do something with it. I don't know. I feel like that's literally the last Holiday scene that they just straight up haven't touched. But It's still really good. Don't get me wrong. It's still really, really solid. It's a damn creative overlay. Obviously, I wish it wasn't fucking there in September, right? Like that's, I don't know. They need to figure.
I acknowledge that.
They need to figure out something with that shit, man. They really do. I honestly don't even think it should be there until after Halloween. And I know that logistically that's hard with setting it up. It takes time to set up. But like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it'd fit in much better, like just keep it an extra month into the new year. I don't know.
This year.
That's true.
For some reason.
I just like, I feel like my opinion of it would be so much higher if it didn't, like, the October thing is unfortunate for sure, but I will give that a pass because like obviously the movie is Halloween and Christmas. Like I would obviously much prefer the original Haunted Mansion on Halloween, just because the original Haunted Mansion is basically classic Halloween personified. But yeah, the September thing is inexcusable. I think it really is. It's like I feel like this could have a chance of being in my top 20 if not for that. I just feel like
Wind and Fire song September when.
And I know that you don't like it either because like obviously you do it just because you don't want to get the gingerbread house spoiled for you, and I don't blame you.
I mean, granted, September's more manageable for my brain to wrap around than November.
Well, October is also tough because it's like that's the toughest one for me. Oh, Tegan, you thought I was going to say Haunted Mansion. God. No. All right, yeah, I don't know. I don't hate it at all, but I do hate the fact that I feel like I'll leave you with this. I think if the original Haunted Mansion is like a shining example of just the spirit of old school Halloween, then Haunted Mansion Holiday, for as well executed as it is because of the schedule of it, is an unfortunate example of like how commercialism driven Christmas has become. Little cynical note. All right. What's your number 24?
It's funny you say that, Tegan, because my 24 is Haunted Mansion in a parallel universe.
Oh, God. Jesus.
Yeah. No, my 24 I'm giving to Star Tours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's you got the nice queue setting. It's the randomizer generally works for me, and it's a fine simulator. It's a
Is it fair to say that you're like way more tolerant of the randomizer than I am? Because I kind of freaking hate the randomizer.
Yeah, although it does tie into my main issue is just getting the Coruscant ending so many times. That's my least favorite segment on the ride, partially on its own compared to the others, but also just because of getting it so much. Like I can't remember the last time I got the Death Star ending. And it is sort of weird how, there's only one ending where you actually do exit back into the starport, which makes the exit
That's true.
Make
That's
sense.
True.
And they didn't even add it until the end of 2019. And even now, when I got that Rise of Skywalker ending last time I did it, it was that part, but then it didn't end at Star Tours. It ended on Batuu.
Tegan, if you're upset about him putting Star Tours at 24, it was my number 40. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, still it's a nice one for me, a nice classic one. I mean, even I know it's not the classic version.
I was gonna say,
yeah,
if it was the classic one, it would probably be in my top 20.
Yeah, I didn't think about where I would rank the classic one.
I mean, like I just think I just feel like the original Star Tours, as I already said, it's like that along with like Jurassic Park the ride, I think are like the primary like perfected formula for the something goes wrong theme park plot line.
Mm-hmm. So, do.
That it?
I
All
believe
right.
so.
Oh, I'm gonna get really controversial here. Oh my god.
Oh.
Guess.
Let's see if is this where you put Rise of the Resistance?
Yep.
So it's still your highest rated Star Wars attraction.
It's still my highest rated Star Wars attraction, but I do not love it. And honestly, I don't even really feel great about putting it this high on the list, honestly. The only reason it is this high is just because, like, yeah, I'm not going to argue that it is on a technical level very ambitious, very impressive. And I'm not going to lie, I am kind of looking forward to the Disneyland version just because I do know that the outdoor queue is a lot better than in Florida. And
at least there's more space than in Florida outside.
Right.
I believe.
So, I don't know, like I just think this is overrated. Frankly, I really do. Most people would have this in their top 10. I like also the fact that like the cannons don't work anymore, that's not a good sign at all because I think the cannons was
wish
like
they'd fix those.
I feel like that was like the standout moment in the original. It was like the moment where it was like, oh shit, this is for real. And it's just gone. Like the whole thing to me has the vibe of you're in a big movie set, but not in an exciting way. Like that was the same vibe that I had when the first time I went on Indiana Jones was like, oh wow, this feels like a movie. This feels like a movie set. It feels like I'm taking a tour of Universal Studios. Like it's just not that impressive to me. It really isn't. I will say that both times I've done it, I have not gotten the elevator that directly faces the AT-AT. I do think that probably makes a difference because I just think it's really lame that, you know, they have like the obvious screen with the stormtroopers firing a much smaller cannon. Like, that's unfortunate. I think that it's just like one of those things where your ride experience is going to be substantially better if you get the elevator that directly faces the AT-AT, and I have not done that yet. For me, I just feel like it's almost like the Imagineers play the hits. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's obviously very technically impressive and ambitious, and I do like that Disneyland has this as another like state-of-the-art, you know, massive e-ticket that's not drawing on nostalgia. That right there, what I just said, I think is the reason why I have it ranked as high as I do. Because I feel like Disneyland as a park, and honestly, my list for a lot of it does, like, it very much leans into nostalgia. Like, I would say before Star Wars Land, the biggest thing that Disneyland had put in was the Finding Nemo submarine voyage, obviously leaning into nostalgia. So the fact that Disneyland has something that is so state of the art is a good thing for the park. I feel like it is healthy for the park's ecosystem, if that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I will feel differently once I do this at night. I do have a feeling that at night it's going to make that return, you know, like the simulator part, and then, you know, and then the crash landing and the exit thing. Like, I feel like that's all going to be improved at night. Still, like, there is no conceivable way for me that this is in any way better than something like Pirates or Indiana Jones or Haunted Mansion or, any of the like hardcore classics. I just cannot wrap my head around people thinking that. That's just me. Like if you're like a ride or die Star Wars fan and this is like literal wish fulfillment for you, that's fair. I can see that. But I am not a ride or die Star Wars fan. I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. I will say this, like I said, Monkey, I am very curious to see I honestly think a lot of my, like, where I solidify, because at this point, like, as much as I am kind of like, like, oh, it's overrated, and that's my hard stance on it, I don't necessarily think my opinion on it has been solidified yet, just because I've only done it twice. And I do think the experience that's going to solidify it for me is going to be when I do it with my grandma. And I have not told her a damn thing about it. She doesn't know anything about the,
Very good.
She doesn't know anything about the multiple different ride systems or, how the queue works, anything like that. But she is very much not a Star Wars person. So, like,
it'll be interesting to hear how that goes.
Yeah, I am very, very curious. I might just be, I don't know, I might have to do it like, it depends on our lightning lane situation, but I'm excited to do that just to see her reaction to it. But yeah.
Yeah, reactions. So do you think you'd like this attraction more if you were on a party bus?
Oh, most definitely. Everything's improved with a party bus. The jungle.
Can't you just picture Lieutenant Beck, in the cab of the party bus?
Oh, absolutely. I can picture Beck in the cab of a party bus. Absolutely. All right. Okay, you're number 23.
My 23. As we go on, this is one of those times where it's like, what's you rank that above Small World or whatever, or other such attractions. And I was kind of wondering about some of the stuff in this, around these few areas, these few rankings today. I ended up not changing anything. 23, I put in Credit Coaster here.
Okay.
So yeah, the statues could be, they could have projected faces. That would be nice. You got that one projection Jack. And yeah, it is sort of like, yeah, as you get to the end, it's just you're going around the helix and they're shouting Jack over and over again. Could be stronger. You can maybe have Frozone after you made sure to mention him in the.
To be fair, there was really nothing at the end, like when it was just California screaming.
Well, yeah, but that didn't have a whole story going. But yeah, and I don't know where I would rank Screamin'. Maybe be higher. It's like, I feel like this is sort of both, like, the question, one of those, did we get an upgrade or a downgrade? Yes, kind of. It's... Yes, 3 guesses who I'm quoting, knowing me.
It's weird to say that considering how much they actually did put in, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's still a fun coaster. The cookie center's appreciated. And also, like, however the physical execution turned out or whatever, I still like how this is one of the first cases I can think of like 1 out of 2 where, okay, let's try this for our things go wrong approach. The ride is working perfectly fine, but things are going wrong around you.
Right,
which I think is
yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a great spin on the goes wrong trope. Whereas, like, and here you get it played for action and comedy. Like, I've loved it on the first time I did this when they say, the baby is teleported to the next tunnel. That was a great marriage of the story and the ride. At least in that first time going around. And then the other example would be Jurassic World playing it for drama and scariness.
I was also going to say Velocicoaster kind of has that a little bit, like, not really, but like on Velocicoaster, like the statues are actually supposed to be like the actual velociraptors. And it is effective when you're going by them so quick and you have like the sound effect of them in your ear like that. It is effective on ride more than you would think. Anyways, but of course, Velocicoaster also has that awesome pre-show where Pratt is just like, do not do this. This is a terrible idea. All right.
Well, anyway, I think that's my stuff on Incredicoaster.
Okay. Number 22, Pinocchio's Daring Journey. You already did this, right?
That's my 22 as well.
Are you serious?
That's why I put Pinocchio at 22.
Nice. Wow. Okay.
I know,
Let's
Pinocchio and the number 22, they have absolutely no connection over the last few months.
All right.
There was never
the
any
people at my house
Pinocchio
clearly
in
don't care that
22.
I'm doing a podcast right now, so I'm going to mute myself for a minute. Why don't you talk about it?
Okay, so Pinocchio's Daring Journey. It's not the greatest of the Fantasyland 5. It's still a nice one. I'm thinking it's a bit more consistent than Peter Pan, and the arrangement of the order of scenes is a bit less, for lack of better words, haphazard than on Winnie the Pooh. And obviously, what Tiki mentioned before in the last episode of this ranking series, but I love that room at the end where you're going through the village. It's especially great, like towards the end of park hours, where you know you've gone through the adventure, and now you have this moment of late night beauty, calm, with the night atmosphere and the music. That is my shit. That's
I feel you. Yeah. It's weird to say. I actually think I just realized this, but I'm pretty sure Pinocchio could probably be classified as like Disney's original book report dark ride.
Yeah.
But I think it executes it better than like modern day book report dark rides do, because like in some ways it is basically just retelling the plot, but you feel immersed in it though, at least. Although I will say, because I did get that like glorious evac,
Yes.
that was awesome. It was amazing. I would not trade it for anything. It did kind of ruin the illusion of this ride for me a little bit.
Aw.
Like, and you were there, right? You were there, yeah?
Of course.
Yeah. God, I don't know why I'm like having a hard time remembering who is there during these things. I don't know. Do you feel that? I especially feel it when I'm going through Pleasure Island, just because that's where we stopped.
I don't think it has for me.
Okay. Yeah, during Pleasure Island, I'm kind of a little bit like, yeah, this is very much like sets in a room. But yeah, like I definitely I think it's actually probably like, especially now that they've changed Snow White, it's very much the scariest Fantasyland dark ride, right?
Maybe. I mean, Toad still has that ending, but then
yeah,
again,
but
this
Toad
has
has
a
always
bit
been
more
fun and
creepiness
crazy.
throughout.
Like I was never intimidated by Toad the same way I was by this.
Yeah, Toad, it's a bit more reserved to the ending, whereas this has like kind of throughout.
I mean, like, this will be your new home is like, I think an underrated, terrifying dark ride moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's got a little bit of an edge to it. Like you said, that last room is freaking wonderful. Probably up there with the overhead track in Alice in Wonderland, as far as like maybe a little bit better than that. Although the Alice track is obviously more iconic. As far as just like a nice finale to the ride. Yeah, just overall very solid. All right, and number 21. For me, it's going to be Roger Rabbit. And I don't know why it paused. Like it would be very odd if you and I had the same 22 and 21. So Roger, let me tell you the big conundrum I'm having with Roger Rabbit right now. It's the fact that the wait time for it is always horrendous, but at the same time, I need to see that queue. Like for me, that queue is like a pivotal part of the attraction. If I am just going through the lightning lane, fast pass, whatever for it, and I am not walking through that queue, just forget it. You know what I mean? Like it's like I feel like that queue is like a pivotal part of it. If it wasn't for the queue, I honestly don't even think this ride would be in the top Don't get me wrong, the ride itself is very fun, and obviously the idea of the spinning ride vehicle is super unique. I'm kind of surprised that Disney hasn't really done that more because it is very engaging and interactive.
They did. It's called Buzz Lightyear. Waka waka.
Oh, I forget that you can. I forget that you can do that on Buzz Lightyear.
The Florida version is literally like a mirror of this ride's name: Cartoon Spin, Space Ranger Spin.
Right. I don't know. Like, I definitely think that this attraction has some very, very good set pieces to it. I think the electrical factory room, whatever that is very impressive. I think the scene where it kind of simulates you falling is really cool. The last room is very kinetic. They with the dip cannon and everything, the portable hole. Everything is great. I don't know. I feel like it doesn't. Maybe I guess the order of scenes feels a little haphazard in kind of a Winnie the Pooh sort of way, if that makes sense. Like,
happy birthday, Roger.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, again, like, as far as the queue goes, the queue is wonderful. And I genuinely think it could just be its own walkthrough attraction. It's like, it's that good. So it's like, that's the conundrum, though. It's like, I really don't even want to engage with this ride if it's not for the queue. But at the same time, oh my God, this thing loads so slowly. And it has Lightning Lane. Like, I genuinely don't know if I'm even going to get a chance to go on it, Monkey. That's the thing. Maybe at night.
When I make it back, I'm planning to make that like one of the first things I do.
That makes sense.
Yeah, probably would have been my rope drop option of choice, but then they took Railway off of virtual queue.
I don't. My one hesitation for rope dropping Toontown is, it is new, and you know me, as far as rope drop goes, I like to kind of avoid like the hot ticket stuff. And B, I just think it's too far of a trek for a rope drop for me personally. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like Toontown's always been in the back of the park or something.
Like, so it's like if I were to rope drop Runaway Railway and Roger Rabbit, at that point I would have to, like, you know, hoof it all the way back to the Fantasyland Dark Rides or Storybook Land or something. That's one thing I'm trying to optimize with this trip, is I'm trying to do as little backtracking as possible and not just like running around like, oh, I'm at Splash Mountain, but fucking, like, I don't know, like a Fantasyland Dark Ride has a reasonable wait. Let's go do that right now. I don't know. You know what I mean? I very much want to kind of go land to land.
Out your tickets for Islands of Adventure.
What?
And then they swap out your tickets for Islands of Adventure before you get there.
Well, I mean, honestly, Islands of Adventure, like, that trip was a good example of, like, you know, that moment in Seuss Landing for me. That was a good example of kind of like, I feel like that was a good start to my whole, okay, I really need to just stop focusing. Because honestly, Monkey, the last couple times you and I were in the park together, I feel like I had straight up become jaded, and I was basically like a robot. Like, yes, we have to be as efficient as possible. And I don't want to fucking enjoy Disneyland like that, bro. All right. Your number 21.
My 21. I was sort of wondering whether to switch it with my 20 like earlier. I ended up not. For now, I'm keeping it at 21. I gave it to Snow White's Enchanted Wish. So
I kind of regret not just taking this off, honestly.
Well, yeah. So yeah. Admittedly, if it was still Scary Adventures, this would most likely crack the top 10. Like, possibly Scary Adventures would be my number 6 if it was still that. But
I didn't realize it was that much of a downgrade.
Well, I don't know if I'd say it's that much of a downgrade, but it's also just for how much I liked that version of the ride, my attachment to it.
Uh-huh.
And Enchanted Witch is still a nice one. It's it's still got some of the nice atmosphere of scenes, and it's got the music from the film, which is great. It certainly did some nice plussing up to a lot of the stuff. I just wish the transition into the new ending was stronger. And even it's like the new happy ending. That's nice. It's nicely done. Like I especially like the the sort of leafy fiber optic spot.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I just wish going from the witch's lab into the happy ending was smoother.
Sure.
Like
sure.
maybe at least have the witch still fall off instead of just being up there all, oh, what do I do? Oh, I'm trapped. Oh, what do I do?
You're right. That makes sense. I mean, obviously, she had a very memorable comeuppance in the original.
Well, yeah, and in the film itself. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I still like it.
I don't know. I appreciate the fact that they recreated that scene, though.
Yeah.
All right. Is that about it then?
That is it for now, yeah.
Okay, let's do a quick recap. Okay, so for me, 30 Incredicoaster, 29 The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, 28 Mad Tea Party, 27 Peter Pan's Flight, 26 Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, 25 Sleeping Beauty Castle Walkthrough, 24 Haunted Mansion Holiday, 23 Rise of the Resistance, 22 Pinocchio's Daring Journey, and 21 Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin.
All right, and then my tier here is 30 Grizzly River Run, 29 Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, 28 The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, 27 Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters, 26 Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, 25 It's a Small World, 24 Star Tours The Adventures Continue, 23 Incredicoaster, 22 Pinocchio's Daring Journey, and 21 Snow White's Enchanted Wish.
Okay. All right. Well, really big thanks to Tegan for joining us in the chat and providing us with some fun commentary along the way. And yeah, that's about it, everyone. Stay tuned. Next week, we will be entering our top 20. Oh, yeah. So if we didn't piss you off now, wait till you find out what doesn't make our top 10. All right. Have a good night, everyone. You made Chewie proud.